The storm arrived without warning. Dark clouds rolled across the alien sky like heavy waves, blocking the twin moons and turning the night into deep shadow. Wind screamed over the metal walls of the human outpost, shaking the structure again and again. Warning lights flashed red along the corridors, and distant thunder sounded like something enormous moving just beyond sight. Ethan Cole lay awake in his narrow bed, listening. He had been stationed on this planet for 8 months. Long enough to learn its strange weather, long enough to stop being surprised by alien habits, but not long enough to feel like this place was home. He was a human engineer, sent as part of a joint mission between Earth and the Lyrathi Union, an alien civilization that valued knowledge and calm above all else. This storm felt different. The air itself seemed tense, as if the planet was holding its breath. Ethan sat up and checked the small screen near his bed. Power fluctuations, shield strain increasing, external sensors failing one by one. He frowned. The storm was stronger than predicted. He swung his legs off the bed, about to stand, when he felt movement beside him. His body froze. Slowly, carefully, he turned his head. Someone was there. Curled near the edge of his bed was a slender shape, smaller than a human, wrapped in a thin silver blanket. Pale blue skin reflected the dim emergency lights. Long white hair spilled across the pillow like liquid moonlight. Large, luminous eyes stared back at him, wide with fear. An alien woman. Ethan's heart jumped into his throat. His training screamed at him to react, to ask questions, to call security. But something in her expression stopped him. She was trembling, not pretending, not invading. She looked terrified. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice soft and musical, trembling like the air before lightning. "I didn't know where else to go." Ethan swallowed. You're in my quarters." "Yes." Her hands tightened around the blanket. I know this is improper, but the storm," a loud boom shook the outpost, cutting her off. The lights flickered, then stabilized. Somewhere metal groaned. Ethan exhaled slowly and forced his racing thoughts to settle. He recognized her now. Her name was Lurie, a junior xenobiologist from the Lyrathi delegation. Quiet, polite, always distant, always careful around humans. "What happened?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. She hesitated, then spoke quickly, like she was afraid she would lose her courage. "The electromagnetic field is unstable. For your people it causes discomfort. For mine it causes disorientation, fear responses, loss of control." Another tremor ran through her body as if to prove her point. "Our shelters are overloaded," she continued. "And the others, they were panicking. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't think." Ethan nodded slowly. He had read the reports. Lyrathi nervous systems were far more sensitive than human ones. Their species evolved on a calm world free of violent storms. Extreme conditions overwhelmed them. "But why here?" he asked gently. She lowered her gaze. "Because humans remain stable." That surprised him. "Our studies show your heart rhythms and body heat reduce stress signals in my species," she said, cheeks darkening slightly. "Your kind stays calm when everything breaks. Even when you are afraid, you function." Ethan felt warmth creep up his neck. He wasn't used to hearing humans described like that. Another loud crash echoed outside. The bed vibrated. Without thinking, Ethan adjusted the blanket around her shoulders, making sure it stayed in place. She stiffened for a moment, then relaxed. "Is this okay?" he asked. She nodded quickly. "Yes, thank you." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The storm howled. Wind hammered the walls like fists. Somewhere in the outpost, an alarm wailed and then went silent. Ethan leaned back against the headboard, sitting instead of lying down. He gave her space. This wasn't a situation he ever expected, but panic wouldn't help either of them. "You're safe here," he said, "at least as safe as anywhere right now." Her breathing slowed slightly, her eyes softened. "I know," she said. "That is why I came." Minutes passed. Maybe longer. Time felt strange during storms like this. Ethan glanced at the sensor screen again. shield integrity dropping. Engineers were already working, but the storm was pushing the system hard. "I should check the central console," he said. Fear flashed across her face. "Please don't leave." The words came out small, honest. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I won't go far. I can access most systems from here." Relief washed over her features. He tapped commands into his wrist device, linking into the outpost network. Status updates flooded his display. Several alien crew members were in distress. Medical teams were overwhelmed. Humans were moving between sections, guiding, calming, fixing. Lurie watched him work, her eyes following every movement. "You do not show fear," she said quietly. He gave a small smile. "Oh, I do, I just don't let it drive." She considered that. "That is admirable." Another tremor shook the structure, stronger this time. Instinctively, she shifted closer, still careful not to touch him directly. Ethan felt the warmth of her presence without contact. "I apologize if this embarrasses you," she said softly. He chuckled under his breath. "A little, but mostly I'm just confused." Her lips curved into a shy smile. "Then we are equal." Outside, lightning split the sky, visible even through reinforced panels. The storm roared like a living thing, angry and endless. As Ethan continued monitoring systems, he realized something important. She trusted him, not because of rank, not because of orders, but because he was human, and somewhere deep inside that made him feel proud. The storm was far from over, but for the first time since it began, Ethan believed they would endure it. The storm did not slow. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Time lost meaning as the outpost shook again and again. The wind outside screamed like something alive, scraping against metal and glass. Power flickered in uneven waves, and the air felt charged, heavy, almost electric. Ethan stayed awake. He sat against the headboard, eyes moving between his wrist display and the small figure beside him. Lurie remained curled near the edge of the bed, wrapped tightly in the blanket. Her breathing was steadier now, but her body still trembled whenever thunder struck too close. A sharp alarm sounded through the corridor outside, followed by hurried footsteps. Ethan tapped into the internal channel. "Engineering here. What's the situation?" Static crackled before a voice answered. "Shield grid B is failing. If it drops, the outer habitat wing will be exposed." Ethan's jaw tightened. That wing housed mostly Lyrathi scientists. "I'm rerouting auxiliary power," he said. "Give me 30 seconds." He worked fast, fingers flying over the controls. The system resisted him, old alien code mixed with human software. He forced himself to stay calm. Panic caused mistakes. Mistakes killed people. Beside him, Lurie watched in silence. "You are carrying many lives," she said quietly. "So are all of us," Ethan replied. "That's how teams work." The screen flashed green, power stabilized barely. A deep boom followed, so loud it felt like the world cracked open. The outpost lurched. Something fell in the corridor with a loud crash. Lurie gasped and clutched the blanket tighter. Her eyes glazed for a moment, unfocused. Ethan noticed immediately. "Hey," he said softly, "look at me." She tried, but her pupils were dilated, her breathing too fast. "It is the storm," she whispered. "The field is stronger. My thoughts are scattering." Ethan moved without thinking. He shifted closer, still careful, and spoke in a slow, steady tone. "Focus on my voice," he said. "Just listen." She nodded weakly. "Count with me," he continued. Slowly, 1, 2, 3, her breathing matched his, gradually slowing. The shaking eased. After a moment she looked at him again, clearer now. "You are guiding me." "That's what humans do in emergencies," he said with a small smile. "We talk a lot." A faint sound escaped her that might have been a laugh. The storm pressed on. Reports came in from across the outpost. Injuries, panic, equipment damage. The Lyrathi leadership was struggling. Their people were not built for chaos. Many froze when systems failed, unable to act without precise instructions. Humans filled the gaps. Ethan watched footage from corridor cameras as human crew members carried alien scientists, shielded them with their own bodies, spoke calmly even as walls shook and lights died. They worked through fear, exhaustion, and pain. Lurie followed his gaze. "You do not abandon each other," she said. "Not if we can help it." "That is not common among the stars," she admitted. "Many species value survival above connection." Ethan shrugged. "We learned the hard way that we survive better together." Another alert flashed. Structural stress near the storm-facing side. Ethan cursed quietly. "If that panel goes, we'll lose pressure in 2 sections." He stood. Lurie's hand shot out before she could stop herself, fingers brushing his sleeve. Fear filled her eyes. "Please be careful." He looked down at her hand, then at her face. He smiled, gentle and reassuring. "I will," he said. "Stay here, you're safer." He moved to the doorway, then paused. "If things get worse, lie flat and keep the blanket tight. I'll be back." She nodded, forcing herself to release his sleeve. The corridor was chaos. Lights flickered. Emergency panels glowed red. Humans and aliens moved through the halls together, some running, some stumbling. The storm's roar vibrated through the walls, constant and angry. Ethan reached the damaged section and joined 2 other engineers. They worked fast, securing panels, reinforcing supports, rerouting pressure lines. The storm fought them every step. At one point, the floor shifted violently. Ethan was thrown against the wall, pain flaring in his shoulder. He gritted his teeth and kept going. Minutes later, the section stabilized. "Nice work," one of the engineers said, breathing hard. Ethan nodded. "Check on the habitat wing. Make sure everyone's accounted for." He turned back toward his quarters. When he opened the door, he found Lurie exactly where he left her. She looked up instantly, relief flooding her face. "You returned," she said. "Of course." She hesitated, then spoke softly. "Many of my people believe humans are dangerous. Too emotional, too aggressive." Ethan leaned against the wall, tired but alert. "And what do you believe?" She met his eyes. "I believe humans endure." The storm intensified again, as if the planet itself heard her words and challenged them. This time the power failed completely. Darkness swallowed the room. Emergency lights did not activate. Lurie cried out, sharp and frightened. Her control shattered. She scrambled toward Ethan without thought, pressing close, trembling violently. "It's okay," he said immediately, wrapping one arm around her shoulders to steady her. "I've got you." Her body was cold despite the blanket. Her breathing came in broken gasps. "I am not meant for this," she whispered. "My mind is fracturing." Ethan held her firmly but gently. He spoke steadily, grounding her with words. "You're doing great," he said. "You're still here. You're not alone." Slowly, the shaking eased. After a while, emergency lights flickered on, casting the room in soft blue. Lurie realized where she was and flushed deeply, her skin shifting to a darker shade. "I apologize," she said quickly, pulling back a little. "I did not intend." "You don't need to apologize," Ethan said. "You needed help." She looked at him, eyes shining. "You did not hesitate." He smiled. "That's humanity for you." The storm raged on, but something had changed. Trust had formed, not through words or rules, but through shared fear and steady presence. Outside, the universe tested humanity again. And inside the outpost, humans continued to stand firm. The storm reached its final fury just before dawn. Outside the outpost, the sky had turned into a single moving mass of darkness and light. Lightning tore through the clouds again and again, not in flashes but in long burning lines. Thunder followed without pause, a constant roar that pressed against the walls like an ocean trying to break through. Inside, the air was tense but alive with motion. Humans moved through the corridors with tired faces and steady hands. Some were injured, some exhausted, but none had stopped. They carried tools, medical kits, food packs, and frightened aliens who could no longer walk on their own. Voices echoed through the halls, clear, calm instructions mixed with reassurances. Ethan felt the weight of every hour in his bones. He stood in his quarters, leaning slightly against the wall, one arm sore, his uniform stained with dust and oil. Lurie sat on the bed, wrapped in the blanket, watching him with quiet focus. She had not slept, neither had he. "The storm is changing," she said softly. Ethan checked his display. She was right. The electromagnetic readings were shifting. Not weaker yet, but unstable in a different way. "It's peaking," he said. "That means it will either break us or pass." Her fingers tightened in the blanket. "My people fear this moment most." He looked at her. "Why?" "Because when control is lost," she replied, "many of us lose ourselves." Before Ethan could answer, his communicator buzzed. "Cole," a strained voice said, "Command needs you in the central chamber. The Lyrathi Council is overwhelmed." Ethan closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. "I'm on my way." He turned to Lurie. "Stay here. The chamber will be loud." She shook her head. "I want to come." He hesitated. "It may be frightening." She met his gaze. "If your people can stand in the storm, I can stand beside you." He gave a small, respectful nod. "All right, stay close." They stepped into the corridor together. The central chamber was crowded. Human officers stood near damaged consoles, working around flickering holograms. Lyrathi leaders sat clustered together, their elegant forms tense and pale. Several were visibly shaking, their calm discipline broken by fear they were not built to face. The moment Ethan entered, eyes turned toward him. "Engineer Cole," one of the human commanders said. "We're losing coordination among the Lyrathi sectors. Their people are panicking." A Lyrathi elder rose slowly, his movements unsteady. "This storm is beyond endurance," he said. "Our minds were not shaped for such chaos." Ethan took a breath and spoke clearly. "Then let us help." The elder looked at him, confusion and desperation mixing in his glowing eyes. "How?" Ethan gestured around the chamber. "By doing what humans do best, sharing the burden." He turned to the human crew. "Pair up. One human with one Lyrathi group. Talk to them. Stay with them, keep them grounded." Some of the Lyrathi murmured in uncertainty. Lurie stepped forward before fear could take hold again. "My people," she said, her voice shaking but strong, "I sought shelter with a human during this storm, not because I was ordered. Because I trusted." She looked back at Ethan, then at the council. "That trust saved me." Silence fell. Then slowly the elder bowed his head. "We accept your aid." The chamber erupted into motion. Humans moved out, forming pairs and teams. They sat beside Lyrathi scientists, spoke calmly, guided breathing, explained each tremor and sound. They shared warmth, presence, and confidence. Where panic rose, humans met it with patience. Where fear spread, humans stood firm. Ethan stayed at the central console, coordinating repairs and power flow. Lurie remained beside him, relaying information from the Lyrathi systems he did not fully understand. Together, they worked as one mind. The storm struck hardest then. A massive surge hit the shield array. The outpost shook so violently that several beings were thrown from their feet. Alarms screamed. Lights went out again. Pressure dropped in the outer ring. "We're losing containment," someone shouted. Ethan's screen filled with red warnings. "If the shield collapses now," a technician said, voice tight, "we won't have time to evacuate." Ethan's hands moved fast, faster than fatigue wanted to allow. "Reroute all remaining power. Dump non-essential systems. Life support first." "That will burn out the core," another engineer warned. Ethan nodded. "I know." Lurie looked at him sharply. "You would sacrifice the outpost." "To save everyone inside it," he said simply. The final command was sent. For a terrible moment, nothing happened. Then the shields flared, brilliant, blinding light flooding every screen. The storm crashed against the barrier with everything it had left. The outpost held. Slowly, impossibly, the pressure stabilized. The shaking eased. Thunder moved farther away. The roar softened into distant echoes. The storm was passing. One by one, alarms fell silent. Lights returned. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then someone laughed. A human, exhausted and breathless. Another followed. Relief spread like warmth through the chamber. Lurie sank onto a seat, her strength finally gone. Ethan knelt beside her. "It's over," he said gently. She looked at him, eyes wet, skin glowing softly. "You faced the storm and did not break." He smiled tiredly. "We rarely do." The Lyrathi elder approached them slowly. He studied Ethan with a gaze full of something new. "Your species is unlike any we have encountered," the elder said. "You feel fear deeply, yet you act despite it." Ethan shrugged. "Fear reminds us what matters." The elder turned to Lurie. "You chose wisely." She lowered her head, then looked up at Ethan again. "When the storm came," she said, voice quiet but clear, "I believed I was weak." He shook his head. "You survived, that's strength." The council later made an announcement that spread through the outpost and beyond. Humans would no longer be classified as unstable or dangerous. They would be recognized as something rare. Anchors, beings who could stand calm when reality itself shook, who could carry fear without letting it rule them, who would stay when others fled. As the outpost settled into quiet recovery, Ethan returned to his quarters. Morning light filtered through the reinforced panels, soft and gentle, as if the planet itself was apologizing. Lurie followed him inside. They stood there for a moment, both unsure. "Thank you," she said finally, "for staying." He met her gaze. "Any time." Outside, the storm clouds drifted away, and across the stars a new story began to spread. When the universe is afraid, humans do not look away, they stay.